Let's get to how people should do this in a sec. Before then, I just want to dwell on those points I made earlier. Do you think we're more or less free now that the left dominates our culture?
Look, I think we're much less free than we were, and I think we see that across all spheres and sectors, and you know, all the way through to the stuff we saw during the COVID 2 years, which obviously had a very telling impact. But I think, you know, we're also seeing that in just the general discourse. You know, we're today here in the Senate, we're debating, you know, a censure motion against Pauline Hanson for things she said on Twitter, and the debate is really all surrounded by language which tries, I think, to stop people from having that debate. You know, you're immediately a racist if you make an observation that the left don't like, and you know, that's where we've got into trouble. I think the freedom of speech issue is just being clamped down on day by day by day by the left, and I think the rest of us are letting it happen. I think we've got to start pushing back.
Well, it's interesting that you mention the debates going on in the Senate today. Well, I mean, are there any politicians other than yourself, of course, Alex, that recognise the urgency of defending our institutions and our culture and freedoms?
Oh, look, I think there are, and there have been, and they come and go a bit, but there are still some, of course. You know, got great people like Senator Matt Canavan and Senator Gerard Rennick, to name just a few. I mean, there are more. I mean, there are people that sort of come and go with these debates a little bit, because, of course, there's lots of other stuff to talk about as well, the economic stuff. And but I do think these are preeminent issues. I think we really have to accept that culture is downstream from politics, and really, if we don't get this right, then we're seeing it affect everything. I think we have to, impress upon everyone, politicians, captains of industry, just how serious this is. And, you know, the corporate sector's no better, by the way. We need people in the corporate sector to sort of say enough's enough. You know, all I want to do is fly on an airline. I don't want to be told, what to think. I just want to get to the destination and land properly, and maybe have a meal on the way through. So everyone's got a role.
That's the other thing that we've witnessed in our lifetime is the corporatization of values, that companies now represent certain values, and coincidentally, they all seem to be woke. We should have pushed back against that as well, really, shouldn't we?
Yeah, look, we definitely should. And I guess the problem is now that if you take your money elsewhere, you'll find another corporation that has a similar line. You know, these ESG targets are killing everything. And this is coming straight out of the World Economic Forum and their playbook, the stakeholder capitalism concept that I know your viewers are well familiar with. But this concept that the corporates now are so powerful that it's easier to try and control the corporate world in order to affect social change than it is to try and run it through parliaments, where I can attest to the fact that it's messy and it's slow and it does whatever. So, getting those CEOs to start telling you what to think about climate change is a much faster way of influencing people. We're seeing it all through every corporation now. Every ad that's on TV is a diversity quota target. It's getting boring in itself, I have to say. And, I think we have to start understanding that. I think people understanding that they're being socially engineered on all fronts is probably the starting point.